Matthew Perry could not remember 3 years of this show, 3 full seasons, gone. He wrote about it in his memoir, sitting down to rewatch episodes and watching himself from the outside.
Yes, and we all know how cruel a parent can be about the flatness of a child's pillow.
Unable to access the person on screen. He said the cast saved his life. He said Jennifer Aniston was the one who checked in on him the most. He said simply, she was the one that reached out the most. Perry died on October 28th, 2023. He was 54. And somewhere in those 3 missing seasons are performances that millions of people still watch every single day. Lines they quote, moments they love, a man being completely brilliant. The audience got to keep those years. He didn't. That story is at number 1.
Chandler, there's a guy right over there.
That's a mailman.
But before we get there, think about where Friends sits in your memory. Not a favorite episode, not a favorite character, the feeling of it, the specific warmth of turning it on after a long day and knowing, before a single line of dialogue, that you were somewhere safe. That apartment, that coffee house, those 6 people. For 10 years, Friends was the place millions of people went when the world felt too large. And most of us didn't fully understand what it meant to us until it was gone. Here are 10 facts about Friends. The huddle that happened before every single episode for 10 years. And what nobody outside that circle ever knew is at number 5. The salary negotiation that changed television history forever was one man's idea. And the show was called something completely different before anyone decided it was simply Friends. Let's go. Number 10. It had 5 different names. None of them were Friends. Friends was originally called Insomnia Cafe, and a bunch of other things. Creators David Crane and Marta Kauffman began developing it in November 1993, under that first title. A name that suggested late nights and coffee and conversation, without quite capturing what the show was actually about. After NBC bought the pilot, the title became Friends Like Us. NBC president Warren Littlefield came up with another title that was also considered Across the Hall. By the time they shot it, the title had switched again to 6 of 1. 5 titles, each one inching closer to the thing the show actually was. Not a place, not a building, not a number, just 6 people. Just the word that described what they were to each other. When they finally landed on Simply Friends, it was because nothing else was honest enough. The most watched sitcom of the decade had a title that took a year to find, because the simplest truth is always the last thing you think of. Number 9, Ellen DeGeneres said no Courteney. Cox switched roles. Everything changed.
Hey, you guys! Hey!
Ellen DeGeneres was simply offered the role of Phoebe. No audition required. The producers wanted her. They went directly to her. They did not ask her to read or test. They handed her the character and waited. She turned it down. The role that became Lisa Kudrow's defining performance, the character that gave the world Smelly Cat and 1,000 quotable moments, was first offered to someone who said no without ever reading for it. Someone that was originally offered to play the role of Rachel Green was Courteney Cox, but she said she wanted to do Monica, not Rachel. The 2 most recognizable women in the cast both play characters they were not originally intended to play. Cox asked to switch. DeGeneres walked away entirely, and the show that emerged from those 2 decisions is the one the world fell in love with, not the version anyone originally planned. Number 8, the opening credits were filmed at 4 a.m. Everyone was miserable. The fountain, the dancing, the 6 of them splashing through water in the middle of the night, laughing, soaking wet, completely free. It is one of the most recognizable images in television history. The opening title sequence was filmed in a fountain at the Warner Brothers Ranch at 4 a.m., while it was particularly cold for a Burbank morning. The cast had been brought in before dawn to a location that was not in New York, had never been in New York, in temperatures that made the water genuinely uncomfortable. The joy you see in that sequence, the laughter, the freedom, the sense of 6 people who have nowhere they would rather be, was performed by 6 people who had been up since 3 a.m. and were standing in cold water at 4 in the morning in a parking lot in California. Every frame of warmth in that sequence is a performance, and it is one of the most convincing performances in the history of television. Number 7. They never shot in New York, not once, for 10 seasons.
It's too late, and I got an audition. I can't shop anymore.
Although the producers always wanted to find the right stories to take advantage of being on location, Friends was never shot in New York. Every apartment scene, every coffee house, every street corner, every hallway, every moment that felt like Manhattan, filmed in Burbank, California. The establishing shots of New York that open episodes are stock footage. The same shots recycled across 10 seasons, because actually going to New York was considered both too expensive and too disruptive to the live audience format that made the show work. Bright felt that filming outside the studio made episodes less funny, even when shooting on the lot outside, and that the live audience was an integral part of the series. The show that defined New York City as a place where young adults could build chosen families and affordable, impossibly large apartments was built entirely on a soundstage 3,000 miles away. The New York you believed in for 10 years was a set in California, and it was more New York than New York. Before we keep going, quick question. How old were you when Friends first came on? Just the number. Drop it in the comments right now. Number 6. One man's idea changed television salaries forever. David Schwimmer was the architect of the collective salary negotiation. He proposed it, organized it, and held everyone together through it. When it was time to negotiate for season 3, Schwimmer went to his 5 castmates with a proposal. None of them would negotiate individually. They would present one number, the same number, for all 6 of them together. Warner Brothers hated it. The stars were each paid $75,000 per episode in season 3. Then the strategy kept working. $85,000 in season 4. $100,000 in season 5, $125,000 in season 6, $750,000 in season 7 and 8, and $1 million in seasons 9 and 10. That made Lisa Kudrow, Jennifer Aniston, and Courteney Cox the highest paid women in a television show ever at that time. The idea that 6 people could refuse to be divided, that they would rather succeed equally or fail together than compete against each other, was David Schwimmer's. One man's sense of fairness changed what every television actor after him believed they were allowed to ask for. Number 5. The Huddle, 10 years, 236 episodes, nobody ever found out.
Do you happen to know the name of that one?
I don't know, Grease?
For all 236 episodes, the cast members huddled together backstage just before taping kicked off. Every single episode, 10 seasons. Not once did they skip it. Not when they were exhausted, not when they were in conflict, not during the difficult seasons, the contract negotiations, the personal losses. They gathered, they huddled. Bright said, "That's one thing that has stayed consistent for 10 years, is that nobody knows what goes on in that huddle. Not the producers, not the directors, not the crew who had worked with them for a decade. Whatever was said in that circle, whatever they gave each other in those moments before the cameras rolled, stayed there." In 10 years of one of the most scrutinized productions in television history, that huddle was never broken. Nobody talked, nobody leaked. 6 people kept one secret for a decade, and they kept it so completely that we still don't know what it contained. Number 4. Friends invented a phrase you use without knowing it. Friends is actually credited with popularizing the term friend zone after Joey tells Ross he's in the friend zone with Rachel in The One with the Blackout, Season 1, Episode 7, 1994. A phrase that has entered the permanent vocabulary of human relationships, used in conversation, in therapy sessions, in arguments, in songs, in films, in every language the show has been translated into, was coined by a fictional character on a sitcom in its first season. Joey Tribbiani did not know he was naming something. The writers did not know they were coining a phrase. A throwaway line in an early episode of a show that had not yet proven itself became part of the English language. And most of the people who use it every day have no idea where it came from. Number 3. They stopped working 20 years ago. The money has not stopped. Over the course of the show's run, each actor reportedly took home around $90 million total in salary alone, before bonuses and royalties. That number is remarkable on its own. And then Warner Brothers struck a syndication deal. Each cast member now earns an estimated $20 million every single year in perpetuity from reruns alone. $20 million a year. Every year. From a show that stopped making new episodes in 2004. The 6 people who stood in a cold fountain at 4 a.m. in Burbank, California in 1994. Each of them has now earned more from not making friends than most people will earn from anything in their entire lifetimes. The show ended. The income did not. It simply kept arriving. Season after season, rerun after rerun, platform after platform, for 20 years and counting. Even Taylor Swift, who was only 4 years old when the show debuted, told Vogue that Friends was her favorite TV show of all time. New audiences keep finding it. The money keeps following. Number 2. The cast knew they protected him, and he knew they did. Lisa Kudrow paid tribute to Perry after his death by thanking him for showing up at work when you weren't well, and then being completely brilliant. That line, quiet, specific, chosen carefully, said everything. The cast knew about Matthew Perry's addiction throughout the run of the show. Not as rumor, as reality. They watched him struggle. They covered for him when they needed to. They checked in on him when the cameras weren't rolling. Perry said Aniston was the cast member who checked in on him the most. In an interview with Diane Sawyer, he said, "She was the one that reached out the most. 5 people who could have distanced themselves, who had every professional reason to keep a careful separation from someone in active addiction, chose instead to be present, to show up, to keep showing up." Perry said the cast saved his life. He said it publicly, repeatedly, without qualification. 5 people who knew everything and said nothing to anyone else, until the day they had to say goodbye. Number 1. 3 missing seasons, and the people who kept them for him.
What is this?
Matthew Perry wrote in his memoir that he could not remember 3 years of Friends. 3 full seasons. The addiction, the alcohol, the pills, the substances that moved through his life during those years took the memories with it. He described sitting down to watch old episodes and feeling like he was watching a stranger. A person who looked like him, moved like him, said things the way he would have said them, but who existed on the other side of a wall he could not see over anymore. Those seasons are still there. They did not disappear because he could not remember them. Every episode he filmed during those years, every Chandler joke, every perfectly timed pause, every moment of his specific genius for comedy exists in the world, being watched, being quoted, being loved. Perry credited the show's cast with saving him. He specifically said Aniston was the cast member who checked in on him the most. 5 people who held something for him when he couldn't hold it himself. Matthew Perry died on October 28, 2023. He was found at his home in Los Angeles. He was 54 years old. The 5 cast members issued a statement. "We are all so utterly devastated by the loss of Matthew. We were more than just cast mates. We are a family. There is so much to say, but right now we're going to take a moment to grieve and process this unfathomable loss." David Schwimmer wrote, "I imagine you up there, somewhere in the same white suit, hands in your pockets, looking around. Could there be any more clouds? That is Friends, a show about chosen family. That became a real one. 6 people who negotiated together, huddled together, protected each other, and said goodbye together. The huddle lasted 10 seasons. The family lasted 30 years. And somewhere in 3 seasons that one of them couldn't keep, the rest of them were there, showing up, being present, holding something precious for someone who needed them to hold it. They were more than just cast mates. They were a family. They said so themselves. And in the end, they proved it. Tell us in the comments, what is the first Friends memory that comes back when you close your eyes? We will see you in the next one.